Good boy, Tucker.
Welcome, everybody.
Welcome.
Hey.
Welcome.
Work smarter where you want.
Consistency is key.
And remember, if it's not in Redtail, it never happened.
This is learning at its most fun.
All right, so I got 11 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, which means it's time to get started for this Thursday's webinar. Hello, everybody. My name is Austin. I am a trainer and subject matter expert here at Redtail Technology. Today, we're going to be talking about your CRM as a crisis management tool. I'm sure the last couple of months have been tough for all of us across all industries, and we are trying to cope with a new way of life, and that is the world in which we're fighting an invisible enemy, and a crisis is abounding. And so what us Redtail trainers did is we took a survey. We asked a lot of different offices about, hey, what is the tools that you're using inside your Redtail CRM to help combat this virus, to keep your team on the same page, to keep your clients at ease? What are you doing during this time to make your practice better and navigate through this unprecedented circumstances? And so we gathered it all together inside a survey that I'm going to be sharing with you today, and then also going to be jumping back and forth between Redtail CRM to kind of navigate and show you how some of the things that we found in the surveys operate and work. So before I start, just wanted to remind everybody that this webinar is equipped with a Q&A option. So if you'd like to ask any questions along the way, if you're uncertain about something, I'll be checking in periodically. We're going to reserve questions mostly towards the end of the presentation. So if you have questions along the way, throw them in that Q&A box, and I will be sure to address your questions there at the end. All right. Awesome. So let's go ahead and get started. I am first going to jump over into, let's go to the browser here. Okay, so we're going to start today on the Redtail website. This is redtailtechnology.com/best practices guide. The reason I wanted to bring this to your attention is this is the survey that we did. It's a downloadable PDF. Looks like this guy right here. And what it is it's basically our recommendations for you on how to use your CRM as a component of crisis management. Okay, and so we're going to break it down into 4 categories today. The first is focusing on client communications. How are we communicating with our clients strategically during a crisis? We're also going to focus on internal communications as well. So how are we communicating with each other during crisis? As we know, that's very important. Then we're going to take a little side street and head down, and we're going to talk a little bit about database cleanup. I'll explain a little bit more on what that means later. And then finally, we're going to wrap up on section number 4, which is employee management. How can you, as a manager, help your employees and empower them and keep them productive during a crisis, especially when we're not able to work alongside each other in a typical office setting? So let's go ahead and get started at the top here. The first thing that we found was for client communication was video conferencing. Huge uptick in video conferencing because there's that in-person face-to-face interaction just is no longer an option for us. And so in 2019, we found that over half were not responding to clients via video communications, but I'm sure if we did that survey again, those results would be totally flipped on side's head. We're all on Zoom, we're all on WebEx, we're all on whatever video conferencing that you're using, and we're using it as a way to communicate with your clients. And so while Redtail doesn't have a video conferencing tool, how can you use a video conferencing tool and complement that inside your Redtail CRM? And so just a quick little hack to show off here. I'm going to go ahead and jump over into Redtail CRM here. Okay. And so right now I have it open to an activity detail screen, and this is my review appointment with Tim Taylor. We're going to be meeting over Zoom. This was a previously scheduled meeting that we can no longer meet in person for. So I'm just going to make a couple changes to the activities detail screen, and that's going to make it easy for me to be able to interact my video conferencing platform with this activity. So the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure time and date's correct, and then I'm going to look right here at this type. Remember, type for an activity indicates the medium in which the event is taking place. So is it a phone call? Is it an in-person appointment? Is it a meeting? Right, we can customize that list. One thing that I would encourage all of your offices to do is to create yourself a custom type for a webinar or a Zoom meeting or whichever verbiage you use to indicate video conferencing. And so that way you can track the number of video conferencings that are taking place and whether or not that meeting is going to take place in person or over a web conference. And so adding a system type will help you delineate that. The hack that I wanted to show you was how we can use the link for the video conference inside the activity. And so what we can do is we can go ahead and I'm going to open up my conferencing platform. So today I'm going to be demonstrating using Zoom. So I'm going to open this up here. I'm going to go to my Zoom account. And all I'm going to do is for my meeting with Tim here, I have my portfolio review with Tim Taylor. I'm just going to grab this link here and I'm going to go ahead and just copy that right into my invitation. Now, there's two places that you can put it, and I'll leave it up to you to whichever one you prefer. Personally, I like the location option because that lets me know right away, oh, the location is going to be on a Zoom meeting. The other option is to put it down here into the description field. And the benefit of doing it in the description field is it actually makes it a clickable link. So what I can do now is I can go ahead and just select this link here. Oops. Oh, sorry, got a little trigger happy with that. Let's try that again. All right, let's go ahead and put the link in here. It's clicking a little bit too fast. All right, so there's my link to join the Zoom meeting. What I could do is just highlight this link here, and I could choose to open it in a new tab. And what that's going to do is just automatically go ahead and launch my Zoom meeting. So here we go. I can go ahead and hit open Zoom, and I can open right up into Tim's meeting. So it's a fast way for me to go right from Redtail right into my meeting. And then, of course, back to Redtail to enter my notes by having it open in another tab. So just a quick hack for you if you're going to be using video conferencing during a crisis time to be able to quickly go between your CRM system, your meeting, and then back to your CRM system to enter in your notes. All right, let's go back to the survey here, and let's go ahead and take a look at the next recommendation. So let me go ahead and jump the screen over here, and we will look at the next recommendation, which is using the broadcast email features. So during a crisis, more communication with clients is always preferred. We want to make sure that they're assured that we are taking their concerns into account and that we're actively monitoring the situations at hand. And so we have 3 ideas of broadcast emails that you could be sending to your clients during an uncertain time. The first is just updating them with what the market's doing. They're already going to be probably receiving lots of updates via the news, but coming from a credible source that they trust dearly can be a great way for you to just give them the peace of mind that, hey, we're looking at the situation and that don't worry, we know what's going on and we're going to get through this. The other is a reassurance type email. And that's simply just reassuring your client, listen, we planned for this. You don't need to worry. There's no reason for you to do any major sell-offs. Your portfolio was designed to handle adversary market events like this. And then the last is just a thought leadership email. And this is just letting your client know that you're on the front lines of this stuff. Maybe you're conducting an interview with a publication, or maybe you're writing some kind of article and you want to be able to share that. Showing your client that you're a thought leader, a force in the finance industry will just further instill greater trust in them, in you, and just show them that they made the right choice in hiring you as their financial advisor. So how does this translate over into Redtail CRM? Let's go ahead and jump into there now. I'm going to go ahead and jump the screen share back over into Redtail CRM. And the biggest way that this does is with what's called broadcast email templates. So when I'm sending this, I don't necessarily want to have to send all of these emails individually to each person. So a quick way to do that is to set up broadcast email. Just a brief summary. Again, there's more details on our Redtail help desk if you're uncertain what I'm doing here. But I'll go to the manage your account section, and I'm going to open up my email template section. And this is really where I'm going to start building out my my templates that I'm going to be sending out. So for example, here is a template for a market update email template. Okay. And so here I start off with their first name, either their nickname or their first name. It was just merged in via Redtail. And then I'm just letting them know, hey, just wanted to provide you an outlook as we monitor the situation and let you know that if you have any questions about what's going on in the news or you're uncertain about anything with your portfolio, just reply to this email or give us a call. So how that looks in action is the first thing we're going to do is go to our contact section. And we are going to go and run an advanced search for our active clients, right? So I'm going to go here, contact, and then I'm going to go to status equal to my active clients, run this list here. And it comes back with 88 active clients. And so what I'll do is I'll just select them all from the list. Contact options, bulk actions, and I'm going to go ahead and send them a broadcast email. Okay. The first thing it does is it goes ahead and allows me to enter in an email template. So I'm going to send them a market update. And here we go. So you notice all the things have been pre-filled. My signature is already included, as well as my disclosure statements. And all I need to do is just go ahead and insert the current market news. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to pull up Yahoo Finance here and just do a nice little copy paste from here into this insert market news. There we go. And so there we go. So the Dow Jones jumped to midday on Thursday, and here's the market news for the day. So your client gets the reassurance, hey, my advisor, they stay on top of things. They know what's going on, and my portfolio is in good hands. So just send that email out, and boom, there we go. Another one that I wanted to show you again was the reassurance type email, and I wanted to kind of give you a pro tip as far as that goes. So inside this current crisis, as I'm sure you all can relate, is we are just longing for just social interaction. We want to be able to see each other and see each other's faces and hear each other's voices. As crazy as this might sound, your clients might miss you quite a bit, not being able to come in and enjoy a cup of coffee with you and have their client review. So one thing that you can do is use the power of video to be able to implement that inside some kind of email template that they can use. And so just a real simple example would be using like a cell phone or a web device. And all you're going to do is just go ahead and set yourself up with a simple recording. They're going to be able to hear your voice. They're going to be able to see your face, read your emotions, and it's going to be so much more powerful than just reading text on a screen. And so how we do that is we record the video. Next step is we're going to go ahead and upload it into YouTube. And then once it's uploaded into YouTube, we're going to use the YouTube link to be able to send that into the email. So I went ahead and did that this morning. Just a very, very brief 15-second message from our CEO type email or video update. And so let me go here to my YouTube channel. And here I am. It's the message from our CEO. Just a quick video recording on my phone. Literally took me 20 seconds. I'd hope that you would probably be a little bit better than I would with using good lighting and maybe a high-tech camera. Maybe show off your beautiful office if you happen to be able to have access to it. So, but what applies here is all we're going to do is upload the video onto YouTube, and then we're just going to grab this link here at the top, do a nice little copy paste, and then we're going to head back into our Redtail email template here, where we're going to insert that YouTube link. Okay, and there it is. So what we need to do is make it clickable. So I'm going to grab it, copy it again, and I'm going to click this link option here. Okay, this is how we add hyperlinks inside broadcast emails. And I'm just going to paste that URL one more time. If you'd like, you can even change the display text. So I could say, message from our CEO, and then maybe even do like a brackets video so they know it's a video. And there we go. So there's the message for our CEO video. When they get that email, they can go ahead and click it. It's going to open up on their computer or their mobile phone, and they'll be able to see your beautiful face and be reassured that their portfolio is in good hands. And so again, very simple example, but hopefully it's something that you can apply to take your broadcast email to the next level amid the crisis. Okay. All right, so let's go back to the survey next. The next option we want to look at is using that same kind of features where we're doing reassurance or market updates, but this time we're going to use it in the form of text messaging via Redtail Speak. Okay, and so let's go back into Redtail CRM. And what I'm going to do is if you have Redtail Speak enabled in your database, you're going to go ahead and open up this Speak icon here in the top right-hand corner. And if you don't have a Speak icon in the top right-hand corner, if you don't have Redtail Speak. Um, if you do want Redtail Speak, of course, you can always reach out to our sales department by calling the 800 number, option number 2. Please note that Speak needs to be approved by your broker-dealer in order for you to use it. But the same principles apply if you have an approved texting platform. You can still use the same platform, but I'm going to use Redtail Speak since this, of course, is a Redtail webinar. So let's open up Redtail Speak here. And what I have here is a list of my team members and then also my clients. So since we're talking about external communications and talking with our clients, what I can do is just create for myself very similarly, like I did with a broadcast email template, just a quick little typed out market update for my clients. And so I went ahead and did that this morning and got us a quick little market update. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to let Daisy know. I'm going to go to Daisy's messages here and just going to send a quick little market update. I might even maybe do some bolding and maybe some emojis as well. But this is going to just basically give them a text message. So when they first wake up in the morning, when they're bombarded with news headlines, we're able to just go through and send them a reassurance that, hey, this is what's going up in the market, and this is how our firm, your financial advisor, is processing that. So they get some good news in the midst of all of the crazy news that's happening inside a crisis. And so just wanted to share that with you. Hopefully that's helpful. Text messaging is a great way to get in contact with your client, and they can go ahead and send you quick replies as well. All right. So that basically just wraps up external communications as far as what are some strategies that Redtail offices are using to communicate externally with their clients. Let's go ahead and jump now into internal communication. So what can we do to internally communicate amongst each other to be more effective during a crisis? Okay. And so I'm a big fan of these. They're called stand-up meetings. What a stand-up meeting is it's a 15-minute meeting that happens each day where each person goes around and just discuss what they're planning on working out for that day, and if they have any challenges or questions that they'd like to discuss with the team. And that's it. It's a 15-minute meeting. Our development team actually does these literally standing up, and that's just so they don't get too comfortable in their chair and eat up too many time. But it's a great way for you to touch base with your team on a daily basis, just so you're in the know and aware of what each person's doing when you can't physically see them in an office, when you can't hear the clacking of the keyboard or go over and ask them, hey, what you working on? Stand-up meetings can be a great way for you guys to collaborate. And so how does this work inside Redtail CRM? Well, what we can do is we can set up a repeating calendar event for each of us on our calendars, so that way we know each morning that we need to meet for that stand-up meeting. Okay, so I'm going to go to my calendar here, and let's go ahead and jump to the current week. So if I wanted to set up a recurring meeting for us, what I would do is just go ahead and click on the time. I think 8:30 is going to be a good time for our team to meet together, and I'm just going to call this stand-up meetings. Again, they're just brief 15-minute meetings where our team can touch base. What are we working on? What are the challenges? And that's it. And then we go on our day to complete everything that we need to do. And then the next morning we touch base again. So it's really important for you and your team to be on the same page during a crisis, and stand-up meetings can definitely help with that. I talked a little bit earlier about using Zoom meeting links and stuff. I think this would be an excellent case for you to maybe put the Zoom meeting link or in the description for that meeting when it's going to take place. You can actually recycle the same link each day, believe it or not. And so adding the description for the link here, so that way each person knows where to find it and easily join the meeting each morning when they log into Redtail CRM. To set it as a recurrence, I'm just going to go here and I'm going to set it for a daily meeting, or in this case, since we probably don't meet on weekends, I'll do every weekday. And let's just say we'll go ahead and end it on, we'll end it about 3 months from now, just to evaluate where we are in the process and that. Redtail does recommend always putting a repeats ends on your recurring activity, because otherwise it's going to put that activity on your calendar for 50 plus years, and it's going to decrease loading speeds when it comes to your calendar. So be sure to utilize a repeats end if you're going to be adding any repeat activities to your calendar. And then of course, last thing I want to do is just make sure that all of my team members are on board So I'm going to make sure that I select all the users in my database. So that way they know we're going to be having stand-up meetings to touch base each day during this crisis. Okay? And that, of course, is going to put that on everybody's calendar. Okay? So just a strategy. I'm sure you have plenty of internal meetings in place, but just wanted to share that with you today to see if that would be effective for you for navigating the crisis. Okay, so number 2 for internal communication is assigning priority and importance for activities. So how this looks inside Redtail CRM is what we're doing is we're just trying to help our team members prioritize their day. So if I was in a management position and I had a subordinate like Daisy, for example, I can go ahead and help Daisy direct how she should be prioritizing her day in order for us to be the most productive. So how that would look is I would go to my Today page, and I would go ahead and click on the upcoming activity options. Okay, and what I'm going to do is filter for today, and I'm going to go ahead and look and see what does Daisy have on her calendar for today. Okay, so it looks like in addition to the stand-up meeting, we have 3 tasks for Daisy to complete. She has to send out the ACH form, just to run the revenue report, and she has to send out a wedding anniversary card. Okay, and so what I would do now next is I'm going to just go ahead and hold down either the command or the control option on my keyboard, depending on if you are Windows or Mac, and I'm just going to open these up in new links, or excuse me, new tabs in my browser. Okay, so here we have the activity for the ACH form, here's the activity for the wedding card, and here's the activity for the run revenue report. And what I can do is I can use this importance and the priority, so that way Daisy knows which she should accomplish first and what is of most importance. So this ACH form here for Tim, we need to make sure that we're getting his accounts because that means more money in my pocket. So let's make sure that we get this form sent out today. So I'm going to put this as high priority and give it as Daisy's number 1 priority. Okay, and so I'll just go ahead and save that activity, and then I'll go to the next one. Okay, here's the send wedding anniversary card. I love sending out wedding anniversaries, but really if we miss this, it can definitely be sent out tomorrow. The wedding anniversary isn't for a couple days. So what I'll do is I'll just make this maybe a low priority and give her this as the priority number 3 for the day. Okay, and then of course we have the last one, which is the run revenue report. Of course, I want to know how much money I've been making this month, and so what I'll do is I'll just set this as a normal importance priority number 2. And there we go. So that way, when Daisy logs into her Redtail CRM, she's going to go ahead and see the different tasks on her things to do today page, and they're going to be nice and ordered based off of what is supposed to be done first and what is supposed to be done last. So the exclamation point indicates high priority, and then she knows this is task number 1, step number 2, task number 3. Okay. So hopefully that helps you when we're not able to be in the office and talk through those things, being able to just go in and quickly assign priority and help my team understand what is of most importance for that day. Okay, so let's head back to the final option for internal communications. And of course, we're going to talk a little bit more about Redtail Speak and using text messaging or internal messaging for communicating with your team during a crisis. And so let's open up Redtail Speak. We already talked about the client communications and being able to send out messages quickly to our clients via text message. But above here, we have what are called public and team rooms. Public and team rooms. So public, of course, is going to be for me to broadcast my message to all my team members. Each Redtail Speak comes equipped with a general room, which means that everybody is a part of that general room. And so this is a great place for you to send broadcast messages out to your entire team. An example of this comes from actually our CEO, Brian McLaughlin. He sends out a message to us every Wednesday, letting us know what the status is of the current work from home order, what the team is doing to help prepare for getting us back to the office and getting us back to our normalcy. And then oftentimes he'll include, maybe a funny joke, a picture, just something to kind of lighten the mood. And even sometimes will update us on the current financial status of the company, letting us know, hey guys, we're in good shape. Our sales are trending well. You don't need to worry about being laid off everything seems to be under control. So it's such a great reassuring for me as an employee to be able to hear that each Wednesday coming from the top down, and just knowing that my management team is doing everything they can to keep my job safe and keep me safe, healthy during a crisis. And so just an idea for you to use the general room. Also, you can go ahead and collaborate with our individual team members. So for example, we talked about Daisy and sending out the ACH form. I can go ahead and send her a message and say, hey Daisy, let's make sure we get that ACH form out for Tim. First thing this morning. There we go. So Daisy gets a message when she logs into her Redtail CRM, letting her know that that ACH form takes priority. Let's get that out as soon as we can to Tim so we can get those accounts transferred over. So it's great for you to be able to message and have a communication platform rather than having to pick up the phone and dial every time you need to communicate with your team members. And then my last kind of just pro tip for you using this is during a crisis, oftentimes it can be kind of sad, right? Like we're all dealing with things in our personal life. Stress levels are increased. So one thing that I always like to do with our internal Redtail Speak is use what's called the random chat room. And so this is just a room where we can go and we can just share maybe some funny picture that we saw or video that we watched. And so what I would do here is I might find a nice like cute dog pic on the internet here and share that with my team so that way they can enjoy in my lovely picture. Today's been rough, it's a crisis and I'm sad. So but it gives us like a fun place to communicate, because when we're all working remotely and we can't interact with each other face to face, we still miss that kind of like water cooler chit chat. And it's a great boost for employee morale when we kind of can have a message board where we can just be ourselves and connect with each other as human beings, not necessarily just as coworkers. So just a pro tip for you for internal communications. Let's go next to our next section. And that is database cleanup. Now, I got to be honest with you, I was a little bit surprised when we did the survey that a lot of offices are actually taking the current crisis time to do some kind of routine database cleanup. And, we kind of anticipated on our side of things that advisors, oh no, market volatility, they're going to be busier than ever and answering employee emails from their clients and phone calls and meetings and this, that, and the other. They're not going to even have time to touch their database. But we actually found the opposite to be true. For a lot of advisory firms, this crisis mode has sort of opened up a lot of free time for them. And so they've been reaching out and asking, what are some things that I can do now that I have this time available? And of course, we always recommend training. Because, hey, we're trainers, right? So we'll provide them links to help desks. But a really good thing that you can do during this time is be able to use database cleanup and use the time strategically to get your database in order. So I just wanted to talk about how we can go use this time period and this extra time to use database cleanup. So the first resource that I want to show you is not actually in Redtail CRM, it's on our Redtail help desk. So we're going to go to the cute question mark icon here and open up the Redtail help desk. And I am going to go to the Redtail CRM section, and we have a guide under the how to handle section for how to handle contact cleanup. So we like to say contact cleanups as easy as 1, 2, 3. The first method is to use bulk changes within Redtail using bulk actions to complete cleanup in bulk. And then secondly, we'll do individual changes where we go into the client records and update things that are unique to them, like social security numbers, birth dates, client sense dates, etc. And then finally, what we can do is we can take all of our contacts and we can export them into what's called a custom export, which basically takes the data points inside Redtail CRM, exports them into a nice Excel spreadsheet where I can then go and make changes to the data fields without necessarily having to click through each of the records. So it's a fast way, especially if you're handy with Microsoft Excel to be able to do some serious bulk cleanup at a fast level using the Microsoft Excel spreadsheet software. And so once you finish that spreadsheet, what you're going to want to do is email us at support@redtailtechnology.com. There's the email address here inside the guide for you. And they'll send you a secure link for you to be able to upload that data file through. And it usually takes my team roughly about 24 to 48 hours to process that spreadsheet and then make the changes available inside your Redtail CRM. So if you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs in this crisis and you know the world isn't falling for you and you're looking for a way for you to enhance your database, maybe consider doing a little bit of database cleanup. Okay. Another thing that you can do as far as database cleanup is crises have a way of making us say yes to things that we might have said no to in the past because the circumstances have changed. Our lives are completely different. And so one of my favorite quotes comes from Robert Sophia. He's the CEO of Snappy Kraken. And he says, advisors are roofers after a hurricane when it comes to market volatility. Your services are in more demand now than they ever were because everybody's portfolio shot straight down. It went up a little bit by now, but the thing is people realize that if I don't have somebody there actively monitoring my accounts and being sure that I'm safe through that next dip, whenever that might hit, it's going to cost me money. And so what I would recommend you using this time for is enhance your prospecting. Maybe reach out to some of the clients that you talked with previously and they were former no's. They said, no, I don't want your services. I'll just manage my own portfolio. Or maybe they went with a different financial advisor and that financial advisor did not protect them well for a situation like this. So what I would do is I would use this reports feature here. We're going to go to reports section, contact reports, and we're going to open up what's called the no contact report. And what this is it is a report of all the contacts where it's been a certain time period since I've either A, entered a note for them, or B, completed an activity for them. And so what we can do is we can set our filter option here for clients that might have been former no's. So I'm going to set my for a year out here. And let's go contact status, lead, contact category, lost. So these are all of these former leads in my database that for whatever reason were not interested in my services. And so I can go ahead and apply this filter and it's going to go ahead and give me a list of maybe potential prospects that I can go ahead and reach out to where it's been a while since I've talked to them. So, you know, now might be a better time than ever to give Jack, Susie, and Elaine a call and say, hey, how's your portfolio doing? Hey, can I answer any questions about how your portfolio is performing? Just basically checking in, making yourself available. Because like I said, you're a roofer after the hurricane. Your services are more in demand than ever. I actually saw a survey from Nationwide not too long ago, and it said how many people for the first time have reached out to a financial advisor as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. And it was 1 in 4. So 1 in 4 American adults surveyed have reached out to a financial advisor as a result of this pandemic. And that's because our portfolios were doing so well for so long. And then all of a sudden that dropped out and we want to know why. And we want answers. And we want wisdom. And so you have that, you're in finance and you understand these markets better than the average person. So use it to your advantage and use this time to increase your prospecting, and the no contact report can certainly help with that. Okay, let's go to the last spot, which is inside database cleanup. And this is something that I've worked with a couple of offices with now that has really helped them to keep their database maintained. And that is assigning one person or maybe a group of individuals to what we call the database director role. And all that means is there's one person that has a strategic plan in place that does routine maintenance on the database. And so one thing that we found effective was we would build out a workflow. I'll go ahead and open it up here inside a new tab. And it looks like this guy right here. So it's a workflow for each quarter to just go through and audit some of the database fields. Make sure that everything's cleaned up. Make sure that you are being intentional about making your database as effective as possible. We always say here on the training team, good data in equals good data out. And so if you want to be getting good data out, like for example, running that no contact report for all of your last leads, that's only possible is if you're maintaining good data and going through and marking through which leads you've lost. So if we just keep them as hot leads, then we won't be able to go back and report and use a lot of the reporting capabilities inside Redtail. So just a brief tip there. If you're having trouble with database cleanup, a recommendation from myself and my team is just to assign a role inside your office to somebody for the database director and have them use a workflow like such to be able to track and just have a routine of cleaning up the database. So recommendation for you there. All right, let's head back to the survey. We're almost finished here. The last thing we wanted to talk about is employee management. And so as managers, this section is for you. We talked a little bit about prioritizing our activities further, which is a great way for managers to prioritize their employees' day. But I can imagine you're probably a little bit worried about your business and how we're going to stay afloat when we're not able to just see that person and talk to that person and actively manage them. And so Redtail has a variety of different reporting capabilities that will allow for you to track your employees' productivity when we might be working remotely. And so let's take a look at some of those reports that you might have at your disposal to track those kinds of things. So let's open up the report section next. And we are going to start off with the activity reports. So the activity report is referring to the calendar. So anything that was on that person's calendar, whether they've completed it or they have yet to complete it, we can go ahead and use these filter options here at the top to be able to track what are my employees up to, right? I don't see them clacking their keyboard or talking on the phone anymore. But what I can do is use their calendar to report on that. And so let's go ahead and, for example, let's go ahead and look at how productive, maybe we'll look at last week. So we'll go last week, last Monday through Friday. Let's take a look at the completed activities that Haley completed. So I'm going to look at Haley's productivity for last week. I'm going to apply the filters, and we're going to take a look. Oh, looks like Haley didn't get anything done last week. Maybe we should check in and see why that is. Maybe we can see maybe she's just not putting things into completed status. So if we apply the filters. Okay, so it looks like there were some onboarding meetings and some appointment reminder calls taking place. She's not putting into completed status. So again, this is just a way for you to be able to use the filter to find out what your employees are working on and how productive they're being. Another option would be the notes reports. So if you want to track sort of your client interactions, are your employees being diligent in putting their notes into the CRM system? We can use these filter options here to track on an employee by employee basis to see, are the notes making it to the CRM? Because again, good data in equals good data out. So we want to make sure that we're recording our client interactions as notes. And then the last one is just the workflow report section. This is for us to be able to see our workflow processes and just be sure that we're not having any bottlenecks in the system, right? We want to make sure that all of our processes are moving along in a timely fashion. So what I can do with the workflow report is filter it here, and let's look at, let's take a look at the client services team, okay? And let's see how they've been doing with their workflows as of late. So here's 27 entries. So looks like client services falling behind a little bit on prospecting and processing this client death. For the most part, looks pretty good, but let's maybe make a meeting point in our next stand-up meeting to talk about these workflow tasks and be sure that our client services team is working to get some of these done so we can move the process along as it needs to be. So if your office is currently using workflows, definitely use the workflow report to report back on that. Just make sure that things are moving along. And then, of course, speaking of workflows, if your office is not using workflows, workflows are a great way for remote teams to work well together. And that's because the process of a workflow is designed so that everybody knows exactly what is expected of them. And they can just go to their workflow task section here on their today page, right? So here I have 37 things I need to get done. and here's a list of all the things that need to be completed. So I can go through my list and I can start completing out the different things. And my colleagues will have another workflow task section, and they'll be able to. So again, workflows, they allow for us to detail out processes, like for example, this onboarding process with James, making sure that all the details are getting into his Redtail CRM, make sure that we're actively prospecting with Tim McGraw. So use workflows. They're a powerful tool. Don't necessarily have the time to get into the nitty-gritty details of workflows and how to build them, but we just did a workflow series last month as part of our webinar series. And so if you're interested, head to our Redtail help desk and check out workflows. So that way you can start using the power of workflows to keep your team on track and on schedule with your processes, even when we all can't just collectively meet inside an office together. Okay. And then the final thing I just wanted to mention was, again, kind of goes back to the random chat room, but be sure to have fun. Do some virtual team building. Our Redtail team has done this quite a bit, where we do coffee chats with coworkers in the morning, where we don't talk about work. All we do is we just drink our coffee, and we're just trying to stimulate those water cooler chats that happen naturally when we're all working together in an office. Like, hey, how was your day? How are your kids doing? Did you catch the game last night? But there isn't many games going on, unfortunately. Yeah, so trivia night is another fun one that we do. Redtail actually ordered all of us takeout one night, so we got to share our takeout with each other via #TakeoutTuesday. So just think of fun ways to build your team together. It is a tough time for everybody, but we can come together and build strong teams through adversity. And so look for ways to use the power of Zoom and the power of video conferencing and communications to just make your team stronger through the adversity. And if you're looking for ideas, there was a FinTech CEO roundtable webinar where CEOs from around the FinTech sphere talked about what they're doing to manage their organizations and keep morale high with their employees during these unprecedented times. So
Thanks so much for joining us today for this particular session. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call at 800-206-5030, option 3 for support, or just shoot us an email over to support@redtailtechnology.com. Thanks a lot and have a great day.